let's find out how to create and join multiplayer games like in Roblox but in Unity. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. So the first thing that you gotta do is to install 2 packages to get access to all the components required for multiplayer. So go to Window and then Package Manager, and for the first one set packages to Unity registry and install Netcode for GameObjects. The second one you can download through this link that you can find in the description and then add to your packages by clicking onto add package from git URL and then pasting it right here. And you're gonna need it to give your clients authority on the player movement, so you need it to give your players control over their respective player characters. And yeah, as you can see, I modified this demo scene a bit, but no worries, this is just for visual purposes. You can find this entire demo project on Patreon. So the next thing that you will need to have is a network manager, which handles the server and client sides and is also responsible for transferring the data packages. So let's click right and add a new empty game object and call it network manager, reset its transform, and add a network manager script to it that we just installed through the Netcode for GameObjects package. And make sure to set transport to Unity transport, which from now on serves as some kind of protocol on how the data is formatted. But if we now start the game and click on start host, nothing's really gonna happen, and it is because we're having our player character already. So what we want to do instead is to make our player a prefab. This instance we can remove afterwards, and in order to make the player exist on our network, please make sure to add a network object script to it. Next, drag the player prefab right here into the player prefab field so that the network manager knows that you want to instantiate one of these player objects each time a new client connects. And also the scriptable object right here should now contain your player prefab. And as soon as we now click onto start host, our player character is getting instantiated as it should be. Awesome. But how the hell can we now make sure that other players will be able to connect to our server as well? Through these options it will be a bit difficult, as there is no inspector in the final build of the game. So let's click right and let's add a new UI button, make it orientate at the top right corner and set its pivot to 1, 1 and its position to, let's say, -10 and -10. We can make it a bit larger if you want and set its text to connect, and let's make it a bit larger as well, like that. And I've created this simple UI script for the sake of this tutorial that you can download for free from the description. Drag right here onto the canvas, which will allow you to add a new on-click listener to your button, where you can now call the connect function. However, if we now build the game and connect this client to the server, we can see that there's one thing we didn't really think about yet, and that is that our player characters somehow have to be aware of which client they refer to. So in order to fix that, you can simply download the player script from the description or make some changes to your own one, which are namely changing the base class from only behavior to network behavior, which lies within the Unity Netcode library. And then at the very start of your update function, if this player isn't owned by the server, return right here, which will cancel out your move function, animation function, and so on. So that looks a bit better now. However, we still need to transfer the position and animation of one player character from one client to the other, as our players that you got right here are not being synchronized at all. And at this point, I'd wish that you could simply add a network transform component to your player. Yet, there is one more caveat for you to watch out for, and that is by using this network transform component, our client doesn't have the rights on the network to override its position, and for its animation it wouldn't have the rights either. And now you hopefully understand why we installed the multiplayer utilities package as well, and that is because it offers this client network transform component, which will grant the player the rights to override its position. And for the animator, there exists the very same thing, which is called the client network animator, and the only thing to set them up is to drag your animator right here into the client network animator. And for the client network transform, we want to send as little information across to the client as possible. So it's better deselect the scale and its rotation, except for the y-axis, as the game we got right here won't be needing these anyway. And if we were taking a look into the client network transform or the animator, you can see that it's basically the very same thing as it derives from the normal network transform. It doesn't really change anything. Nonetheless, there's one thing still, and that is it's overriding the server authoritative value, which means it brings the authority back to the player and therefore grants them to set its position or animation on the network. So let's make one last build of the game by going to File, Build Settings, and now click onto Build and Run and select your destination. And as you can see, this is exactly how we wanted it to be, and our multiplayer game is finally working. There are two more things though that I wanted to give you on your way, so you're having a nice experience when playing your games with your friends, and that is make sure to change your address to the IP address of your host, and also select a open port with the firewall settings set up accordingly. And Unity itself does also offer a server service for this, for hosting your projects. And of course, how could it else be? You can also connect with as many clients as you want to your game now. And also a quick shout out to these 3 packages in the asset store. So I hope you liked this tutorial, and I'll see you next time.